morning or good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on Power BI solution. I'm Anne Kozikfriend, and I'm very glad to introduce this webinar today. Some of you are already familiar with the CATIA Live webinars that were held in 2018, either because you attended them directly or because you watched them in the CATIA user community. In 2019, we want to continue to offer you the opportunity to learn and discuss about your current or future work in a new webinar format. It's a livelier format where you can see the speakers even if they are performing a demo. Today, Paul Mackin will present what is implemented in the CATIA 3D Experience platform for V5 users. As usual, please note that you will receive a link before the end of the week where you can watch this webinar again and send the recording to your interested colleagues. At the end of this presentation, there will be a Q&A session. Thank you to everyone who sent us questions. Paul will answer some of them today, and we will answer the rest of these questions in the CATIA user community with the publication of the webinar recording. I give the floor to Paul now and wish you a great webinar.
Hello, I'm Paul Mackin with the CATIA team. And in the CATIA team, we've recently been receiving a lot of questions about Power BI. So we thought we'd put together some material which introduces the concept of Power BI and shows CATIA V5 users how they can gain value from that, whether they be creative designers, mechanical engineers, or indeed electrical designers. So let's start first of all by looking at what is Power BI. And it's kind of simple. Power BI is a strategy. It's a strategy for us to bring together all kinds of users, leveraging different technologies to bring people and connect them to the 3D Experience platform. Because many people have data, whether it be CATIA data or data in other formats or SolidWorks data, and at the moment, they are using those tools very effectively and often may want to continue using those tools. So Power BI allows them to bring that information, add value to it by not necessarily having to change the current processes and the current tools. So Power BI opens up the opportunity for you to grow the value of your data, and you can start with simple socially connecting and collaborating by getting your data on the 3D Experience platform and sharing it via 3D drives. But then we move to the next stage where it really starts to get quite interesting, where you save your data on the 3D Experience platform and expose it then to the entire ecosystem of collaborators who can use and access and gain value from that data. But for me, the exciting bit is what comes next, because once your data is there, once it's structured, once it's managed on the platform, you can then take advantage of all the new material, all the new capabilities in CATIA 3D Experience and do things that up until now you haven't been able to do. Because you can now, although you continue to design in CATIA V5, you can take the advantage of the new roles that only exist on the 3D Experience platform. And those roles aren't just CATIA, those roles can also be Delmia, Simulia, and all of the other brand capabilities that Dassault Systems bring together on the 3D Experience platform. First of all, there's the value of the 3D Experience. By having, as I say, that data all together in the one place, it allows more and more people to access the information and allows you effectively to start modeling experiences, not just CAD models. Then there's the value of the new mobile experience, the fact that that reveals your data to many, many more people, people who wouldn't otherwise be able to access it. They can do that through their phone, through their tablet. They can do that on the cloud. They can do that anywhere, anytime, from any device. And that, again, reveals the value of your data to a much greater extent. And third, that you can then look at the value of going from the concept of a CAD part into what now becomes an engineering item connected to the entire ecosystem and world of the evolution of your product design. The 3D Experience in more detail, let's think about connecting industry value streams not in a sequential one by one, bit by bit world that we maybe used to have, but into a network, a parallel network where everyone gets access to the right information at the right time. Transforming from product design to experience modeling. Think that how you can take your product and simulate the behavior and visualize and see and understand and experience everything about that product rather than just some 3D models. And improve decision making because everyone is on the same platform, because all the data is on the same platform. Then you can start doing analysis and start using perhaps things like Excelate to make some analytical studies and find out and gain more intelligence from the collective information that's there. And all of this on a single platform, whether it be on-premise or on cloud. So second, access to new ways of working. This new social web mobile environment is a big game changer. So everyone has the right information. It's all in real time, 24/7 from anywhere. Managers, users, the people who used to come to you and ask you for an extraction or a drawing or an analysis or a measurement, they can do that themselves. And this is what we mean by making your data more valuable. It's now ready and there for the kind of people who don't have CATIA, the kind of people who couldn't use CATIA or don't have the license for CATIA, but have the ability then to interact with this information and therefore make the product better. I'm going to show you a little example of this, and if I could ask to play video 1, and you'll see how that works. This video is based on an iPad, and it demonstrates how any user can access data, including CAD data, anytime, any place. It's what we call the mobility experience. So first the user searches for data, and he finds it available in 3D. He sees the structure there as well, and he can manipulate that item in 3D. It's very easy, it's very fast, even in large models, the performance is very good. And the interactivity between the data structure and the 3D allows the user to explore and understand the product he's working on. The user can filter data according to different criteria, the type of object, the data owner, and that increases the effectiveness of all kinds of studies. And you also have the ability to do measurement or tools for sectioning, which takes that further again. So thirdly, PLM Connect to extend the value of existing CAD assets. I keep repeating that, but it's actually a really important thing in terms of extending the value of your current V5 work. So importantly to emphasize that we're preserving 100% of the CAD users' practices, the methodologies in V5 that you've built up, the productivity, the macros, everything about your sleek, effective V5 environment is preserved. But you can then move that and take advantage by moving from CAD part to engineering item, by sharing, by comparing, and by taking advantage of all the capabilities in the platform to explore and know more about this data. So what does this mean in reality to the CATIA V5 user? Firstly, and very importantly, no migration. You don't have to do anything about your data. It's still CATIA V5 data. You can still, there's no disruption to existing processes because you can still keep on designing in CATIA V5. You can still use your existing processes in CATIA V5. You can still use all your existing accelerators in CATIA V5. This is extra on top of. So what you get is the instant and seamless access to the 3D Experience platform. Not just you, but the people who need the data you create, the models you create. You get access to CATIA 3D Experience supplemental disciplines. And we're going to talk a lot more about those, where you can start really basing your design on your CATIA V5 work and extending it using some of the exciting new capabilities that you don't have on CATIA V5. And you have access not just to CATIA, but simulation, manufacturing, and all the other Dassault Systems brand capabilities. And you can, in the process, share and collaborate with everyone in your ecosystem, with all stakeholders, with everyone who needs to know and everyone who benefits from knowing. Important to mention that what you're then getting access to is 3D Experience CATIA, which is a big component in what we call engineering excellence. And we talk about that in 3 themes. First of all, the social theme. where we've got things like intelligent 3D dashboarding. We've got real-time concurrent design where people are working on the same product at the same time, genuinely at the same time. And the single source of truth, the fact that you can be certain, you can be confident that the information you're accessing is actually the latest and the correct level. Then we have the instinctive parts where we have the user interface that's easy to learn, easy to use, which guides you through the process. We have world-class 3D engineering applications, which are getting better and better and better and improving with each release. And it's accessible for more and more users. Your data is accessible to again, the wider population. It's inclusive then because the large product and 3D data handling is something that has not been seen in the V5 world. It takes that an order of magnitude beyond where it has been in the past. The enhanced engineering process coverage is that we're building more and more deep knowledge-based engineering process roles, which again extend what you can do. And interestingly, the ability to deploy this at any time, multiple deployment options. That means you can deploy by cloud, you can deploy on-premise. And if you deploy this on cloud, even if you're just a user of one seat of CATIA V5, you can, in an instant, bring that new capability from the 3D Experience CATIA to bear on your program. So we thought, how do we demonstrate that to you? How do we show you some of the value that this process brings? And what we've come up with are 3 initiatives that are really designed to demonstrate how data which begins its life in V5, or data for which part of the process is in CATIA V5, can then be extended by using some of the 3D Experience platform capabilities. We call this kind of supplementing your existing process. Not replacing, supplementing. And we're going to show you 3 of those. And we'll show you videos which demonstrate the kind of the end-to-end of that process. We're starting with generative design, with the function-driven generative designer role, where we'll take a part of a V5 product and then create some optimization within the 3D Experience CATIA. We'll then look at electrical design, where a mechanical frame of a car seat which is designed and continuing to be designed in CATIA V5, is then augmented by the electrical design process within CATIA 3D Experience. And finally, on a number of levels, we'll look at the value in the creative design process, where, again, a CATIA V5 product can be extended to take advantage of visualization, of virtual reality, and other techniques in CATIA 3D Experience. So let's start with the first of those, which will be 3D Experience generative design, where we're starting at step 1, where we have a CATIA V5 mechanical designer, a mechanical design of a motorcycle. We'll bring that data in by simply saving it into the 3D Experience platform. Then we'll take part of that motorcycle and redesign it using function-driven generative designer, where we can optimize and therefore reduce the weight of the existing part. We'll then take that a step further and look how we can generate not just one, but several potential new optimized shapes and select the best from the ones that are produced, whether they've been optimized for a particular manufacturing process, such as additive manufacturing, or perhaps for more traditional machined or formed processes. So let's roll the video and we'll take you through that process. So in this demonstration, we're going to see how PLM Collaboration Services opens up the power of 3D Experience platform for generative design. So the goal is to have a single environment with optimization, simulation, manufacturing, and design. So let's start with a motorcycle designed in CATIA V5. We'll save that to the 3D Experience database, but keeping V5 as the master. Once done, we can browse the CATIA data. So here in the web app, we get full access to all the data related to the current motorcycle project. You can browse and navigate the structure, create new components to add to the project, and some of these could be 3D Experience components. As we navigate, there are some tools, for example, to understand things like ownership of the models. And they're displayed in 3D Play, an application which allows you to view your models in a web browser. But here we're just going to focus on a subset of the motorbike. We don't need all of it, just the environment necessary to redesign the swing arm. And we're going to create what's called a design space, an envelope based on the geometry of the original part. We can mesh that automatically with the Exploration Assistant from GDE. But we need to create some functional regions, the regions that cannot be changed. These are at the front and the rear of the part. And then we define the critical load conditions. And the critical load conditions are that which the part will experience, such as heavy braking, high acceleration, and we can validate that initial design space. So then we go to the optimization setup, where we can define some targets such as maximum stiffness and optimize for frequency and so on. And then we can work on constraints to have more control and to drive the optimization in the right direction, such as making sure that the part doesn't have more displacement in certain areas and maximum stress to your part, refine control of fasteners and how they react. For the shape controls, you have manufacturing control to ensure your part is manufacturable with traditional processes such as casting or milling, or you can give it more freedom and aim for a part to be created by additive manufacturing. That can also be used, for example, to limit the supports required for additive manufacturing. In this case, we aim for a middle plane symmetry as the load cases are symmetrical, and once done, we can compute the result. In this case, we used additive manufacturing, so you can see the result is rather organic. The geometry is solid. You can apply any CATIA geometric operation to it and any standard CAD behavior. This is not just a cloud of points. This is real CATIA geometry. On top of that, we can validate the part to ensure that it meets the KPIs that we want. Now, this is the first of many variants that we can compare using the trade-off study tool. And this is really important because it allows you to view and evaluate concepts and then select for further refinement of your design. And in this case, we've chosen a version that can be easily milled, and then a version for additive manufacturing. And you see them on the bike, and then you'll see them side by side with some analysis in addition. Of course, once we've completed our design, we can take it back into V5. So what have we seen? We've seen how you can create better products by exploring optimized parts. You've seen that you've got this really intuitive workflow for designers. You can see the automatic generation of function-driven shapes, and how you can continue to use CATIA V5, but extend the value of your CATIA V5 data by supplementing existing processes with 3D Experience CATIA. So let's move on and look at another process. This time we'll look at the electrical design process. And the stages in that will be, we start again with a CATIA V5 mechanical car seat. We'll then build a 3D Experience session. And then we'll do the electrical harness design in the CATIA 3D Experience. We'll interact with other applications when we import wire routing information. And then finally, we'll show how on the completed design, it can now be accessible to not just you as a designer, but to the wider group of people who need to access the data. And this demonstration, we're going to see how PLM Collaboration Services opens up the power of the 3D Experience platform for collaborative electrical systems development. And we're going to use the example of a car seat where the mechanical structure is designed in CATIA V5 and the electrical harness is designed using 3D Experience CATIA. So we start with the CATIA V5 user using the 3D Experience platform where all the data is stored. We can select the data and visualize it. All of this data created in CATIA V5 and in the 3D Experience. We can open a V5 session, just as we traditionally do, and from there continue the mechanical design in CATIA V5. But now we're in wire harness design, and we're going to be using 3D Experience CATIA. We select and we build the session, consisting of V5 data for mechanical and all the electrical data, including the airbag, equipment, and all the connectors. And we place a connector on the airbag unit, and then we start routing the bundle from an existing point at the bottom of the seat. We'll take it through a support. Again, this support is 3D Experience data, and the rest is V5 data, and we're using it as a context through which to route our bundle. The bundle is more or less a space reservation guided by the surface. There's no direct link. It's simply used as a reference to create the shape of the bundle. We connect the end of the connector we've just placed, and we can add a branch point, and from here, the bundle is just as we created to another connector for the grounding of the airbag unit. We've given it a bit of overlength to enable the easy connection and disconnection of the cable. And we'll do the same at the top using local slack. We want an overlength of 2 millimeters to make it easier to disconnect the cable. So you can see between the two red points, and we add in the slack. So we have the capabilities to check the harness to see if everything's connected. That's all the connectors in the bundles are connected using network analysis, and everything is green, therefore we're okay. It's all connected. Again, these are all 3D Experience electrical functionalities that help the designer create his harness much more easily than was the case in V5. Next, we're going to import the wires, the conductors coming from our own schematic system or an external ECAD system. We can import them so we have them in our session, but they're not yet routed. But we have a form to check, and we have the from to for the next step to route the routers, route the conductors inside the bundles. We can analyze that using link review, and in the highlighted section we have 2 conductors, and in the grounding of the airbag we have only 1. And you can see the diameter is different when we have more wires. Of course, we can also have the length calculation because we know which wire is going through which bundle. We can analyze that here, or we can create reports for the whole session. Now we can see the role of the project leader, who doesn't have access to CATIA, just access to the platform. He can create his own dashboards to visualize or analyze data, which is on the system. And they can just drag and drop the combination of V5 and 3D Experience data into a 3D play session. Here he can visualize and check, highlighting the just created geometry and better understand the status of the current design without having access to CATIA, either V5 or 3D Experience. So that concludes the demo, and we've seen how 3D Experience Electrical provides a first-class user experience which improves quality and reduces design time. This collaborative electrical systems development platform brings together all stakeholders, and we've also seen how existing CATIA V5 processes can continue to be used. But the value of V5 data is extended by making it available to all. And we've seen how powerful new functionalities can supplement existing processes with 3D Experience CATIA. So let's look at our third and final example in this process. And here we're going to look at a number of elements in the creative designer's world. So we'll start with a CATIA V5 mechanical design, and then we'll do a 3D Experience 3D review. We'll build our session. We'll take advantage of some of the visualization tools in CATIA 3D Experience. We'll insert a human mannequin into our design process. And we will then look at how we can use some of the geometry creation techniques surface creation techniques in CATIA 3D Experience and apply those to our V5 design, to modify our V5 design. It's important to understand here, by the way, that after step 3, each one of those scenarios, the visualization, the human design, the creative design, and finally, of course, the immersive experience, they can all be followed either in parallel, but certainly independently at the same time. So you can have a team taking advantage of a V5 design and evolving that using one or many of the new capabilities in the 3D Experience platform. So we're going to search, browse the product, visualize it, and directly save it through the new 3D Experience menu at the top of V5. Now we go back to the 3D Experience dashboard, and we'll refresh it and look for the data that we've just saved. We can drag and drop into the 3D viewer and start to review the model in 3D. Now we can go directly to the CATIA 3D modeling and the 3D Experience platform with materials. Then I can, having done some annotation, I can search for my V5 product, and I'll be able to select that and open it up in the live rendering application. So here we can use the power of CATIA Live Rendering to improve the overall visual experience of my product. I can browse for materials and start to apply them to various parts of the product, and do the same for the various parts of my 3D model. Looking for the appropriate material, select it and apply it to a large number of parts. And once I've done that, I'll be able to take advantage of the power of 3D Experience CATIA by generating a very high quality rendering. So now I can better appreciate the quality of my design in a realistic environment. I get access to camera control, to material parameters, and access low-level parameters of my materials, thanks to substance integration and CATIA Live Rendering. And in the end, thanks to the power of CATIA Live Rendering and ray tracing and global illumination, I can produce high-quality visuals to better communicate my design. So now I want to enrich the experience of my product. I need to create a 3D experience of my product. So I rename it and I search for my V5 root product and include it in my 3D Experience root product. I search for my new 3D Experience product, select it again, and open it with my favorite 3D Experience application. So in my scenario, I want to improve the design experience of my product by having a human as a visual reference. In CATIA Human Design, you select your human avatar, choose the required position from a library, and position the human directly on your product. In this case, a man seated on the motorcycle. I can adjust the position of the arms and the feet of my human directly and visually on my product. And I can fine-tune the position of the hands so I can reach a realistic position of the human on my product. So next, in this next scenario, I want to modify the shape of the fuel tank using CATIA Natural Sketch. And that means that I can easily draw a curve on top of an existing surface. I can create a symmetry for my first curve and now draw the new profile of my fuel tank. Once I'm satisfied with this new curve, I can check my curve network, and go to CATIA Imagine and Shape and create a subdivision surface based on these three curves. And thanks to the associativity within CATIA, by moving the shape of my profile, I can change the shape of the subdivision surface. And once I'm satisfied with that, I can move on to the next step. So in this scenario, I want to take advantage of the value of the immersive experience provided by the 3D Experience platform. The immersive visual through the immersive visual experience role. And this supports the HTC Vive head-mounted display. And I want to review my model directly in a virtual reality environment. This capability allows me to have a free and interactive and immersive review of my product. I can fully appreciate the details of my design, experience it from different viewpoints, and have a global check on the quality of my design. So, having seen those three examples, I'm just going to summarize a little bit to talk about some of the practicalities of it and to remind you what we've just been through. So we've seen how we've been using PLM Connect to connect to the 3D Experience platform. We've seen how we've been able to reveal value, extra value on top of CATIA V5 data, and how you don't have to stop using CATIA V5 and you don't have to disrupt your existing CATIA V5 processes. We've also seen how we can discover greater value with CATIA supplemental design. And the three examples we've just shown you are for the generative design for the mechanical engineer who wants to optimize his shapes. Electrical design for the electrical designer who wants to take advantage of the new 3D Experience CATIA electrical design capability, but on top of a structure which is designed in and continues to be designed in CATIA V5. And finally, you saw some examples in the creative design world where we can start with a product in CATIA V5 and use multiple new 3D Experience CATIA capabilities to really expand the sort of product quality that we can achieve at the end. So, and again, all of this, remember, without having to disrupt your process of using CATIA V5. So we'd welcome any questions you have on today's CATIA TV. And if you submit your questions, then we'll answer them and we'll put those answers on the CATIA community, CATIA user community. But we've had a few early questions, so I'd like to deal with them now and take a few moments. First question is really around one of the scenarios we showed, number of the scenarios we showed, in fact. Does the release of CATIA 2019X bring any new capabilities which impact the scenarios demonstrated? Okay, so we showed you three scenarios, one for generative design, one for electrical design, and one for creative design. And released our 2019X brings a lot of new function in the generative design zone, which we won't have seen today. There's a new role, a new extension role called Function-Driven Refinement Designer. And in addition to, in other words, following on from your initial optimization, what it allows you to do is to further refine and converge the optimized shape, either globally in terms of the whole shape or locally in terms of a chosen section of the shape, without rerunning the full optimization. So that allows you to very selectively refine that optimized shape. For the creative designer, then there's an amazing new capability in our 2019X, you saw how you were able to use virtual reality and jump into a virtual reality environment with your head-mounted display, and to explore the shape, and even then to collaborate with others in exploring the shape in virtual reality. Well, now with our 2019X, you can actually sketch in that virtual reality environment. So using the CATIA Natural Sketch tool, you can jump into virtual reality and start creating shapes, curves, and surfaces. So that's an amazing new capability, which will be of great interest to many people. So another question is, again, around the generative design area. Most topology optimization software seems to produce mesh rather than real geometry. Is the geometry created in CATIA real, and how good is the quality? And that's a really good question, because yes, the geometry that you create using GDE is real CATIA solid models. And with those solid models, you can then do anything. Now, customers have told us that this is one of the best quality that they have seen on the market, the geometry that we create, in terms of its smoothness, in terms of its usability. And in fact, even in our 2019X, there's been some further evolution in that, and it has improved in surface smoothness and regularity. And the reason this is so important is that it avoids rework. You're not getting a mesh or an STL file. You're getting a real usable solid that then can be used directly by the downstream users. And that means that not only can you save the time of having to recreate the geometry, but you've got digital continuity, because they can reuse that exact CATIA solid model in the same way as you can reuse any CATIA solid model. So it's about digital continuity. So, and the final question, asking, will this help me search for and find my CATIA V5 models? And yes, that's very important, because today on the platform, on the 3D Experience platform, you can get access to index searches, you can do 3D volume queries, you can filter your product only to see the certain things that you want, and you can open models selectively without opening an entire product. And once you've stored your CATIA V5 models on the platform, all those capabilities are available for you. And not just available for you as a CATIA user, but for the other people who are using and exploring and benefiting from your product being on the platform. So that's the questions. Please do ask more. Please do post them on our CATIA user community. Thank you very much for joining us on CATIA TV. And we'll post a recording on the CATIA user community. And as I said, please do ask any further questions and we'll get an answer to you.